You've been there, right? Filling out a survey and you get a question like, will you buy this in the next 2 weeks? And you're thinking, why so specific? Why not just soon? Well, it turns out none of that is random. There's a hidden science behind every single one of those questions, and it's all designed to predict what you're going to do next. So let's pull back the curtain and see how it all works.
I mean, really think about it. Why those super specific time frames or those scales from 1 to 7? It can feel a little weird, a little arbitrary. But for the people who made that survey, those little details are absolutely everything. They're the whole ballgame.
Because without those precise questions, researchers are just flying blind. They're basically just guessing what you want or what you really think or what you're about to do. And in their world, a guess is a gamble they just can't afford to make. But when they get it right, that's where the magic happens. That gives them crystal clear, actionable information, the kind of information that lets them make a smart decision that could totally shape the next product you end up buying. So how on earth do they turn a simple question into such a powerful prediction tool? Well, you might be surprised to hear it all starts way before anyone even thinks about writing a question. It begins with what I like to call the question before the questions, defining the why. What is the one big decision this whole survey is trying to make possible? Professionals use this really simple but powerful little framework called the IDEO model. It goes like this. The whole point of gathering information is to help someone make a decision, like, should we launch this new feature? And that decision is supposed to help the company achieve a bigger objective, like getting more people to use their app. If the info you're collecting doesn't lead to a decision, it's just noise. And this really nails the biggest challenge in all of research. It's not about getting answers. It's about being absolutely certain you have the right objective, so you know you're asking the right questions in the first place. Because a fuzzy objective, that pretty much guarantees a useless result. Okay, so once that objective is crystal clear, that's when researchers get to open up their toolkit. And just like a great mechanic, they have all these specialized tools, and each one is designed for a very specific job. Let's take a look at the most common ones. First up, you've got the two main flavors. Open-ended questions are your suggestion box type questions, like, what could we do better? They're fantastic for discovering ideas you never even thought of. And then you've got closed-ended questions. These are your multiple choice options. They're the workhorses for getting clean, structured data that you can analyze really easily. I promise you, you've seen this one a million times, the Likert scale. But here's the subtle genius behind it. They're not actually asking you a question. They're giving you a statement. And what they really want to measure is the intensity of how much you agree or disagree with it. So they'll hit you with a statement like, this class is interesting. Then you just pick an option from strongly agree all the way to strongly disagree. It's super simple, it's fast, and it's an incredibly effective way to see how people feel about a whole bunch of things all at once. Now, let's look at a close cousin, the semantic differential scale. This one is a little different. Instead of measuring agreement, this scale measures where you fall between two opposite words, two bipolar adjectives that anchor each end. So, back to our class example. Instead of agreeing that it's interesting, you'd place your opinion somewhere on a scale from boring on one side to exciting on the other. This is an awesome tool for capturing gut feelings and brand perceptions. Okay, so knowing which tools to use is one thing, but just as important, maybe even more important, is knowing how not to use them. Let's dive into some of the most common traps in survey design that can make all your data completely worthless. And here is a huge one, the ranking question. It's so tempting to ask people to, rank these 5 features from most to least important. It seems so direct, but as this quote points out, it forces people to make choices that might not really reflect how they feel at all. Here's why that's such a problem. What if you think 2 of those features are equally vital? Well, too bad. Ranking forces you to pick a winner. And it doesn't tell us the distance between your choices. Is your number 1 pick miles ahead of number 2 or just barely? Ranking hides all that crucial detail and creates this false sense of order. Here's another major trap that businesses fall into all the time, and that's confusing the service they provide with how satisfied their customers actually are. Believe me, they are not the same thing, not even close. The difference is actually pretty simple, but it's so critical. Customer service is the action the business performs, how long you waited in line, but customer satisfaction, that's a calculation happening in your head.
It's the quality of that service judged against your expectations. This gap analysis chart shows exactly how this works. Check it out. The bar for performance is pretty high, right? Objectively, the company did a good job. But look at the expectations bar. It's even higher. That difference between the two is what we call the negative gap. And it means that even with good service, this customer is actually walking away dissatisfied.
All right, this brings us to what might be the single most crucial concept in all of survey design. This is the secret to getting results that you can actually do something with. Just look at these two questions. The first one measures your attitude. Should the zoo lower its admission price? I mean, of course, who's going to say no to that? But the second question, that measures your behavioral intention. It asks what you personally would do. And let me tell you, the answers to those two questions can be wildly different.
And it all boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful formula. If this thing happened, would you personally do this other thing? This one little change shifts the entire focus from some vague opinion to a concrete personal commitment.
And really, that's the theme that ties all of this together: specificity. Vague questions like, do you like our store? They'll get you vague, feel-good answers that don't mean much. But specific questions about behavior, that's how you get data you can actually use to make a real decision. So the next time you're faced with a survey, don't just see it as a chore. Take a second and really look at the questions. See if you can spot the science at work. Ask yourself, what's the big decision my answers are helping this person make? You might be surprised at what you find.